Welcome to Liberty FM, the podcast dedicated to all things New York Liberty. I'm Felicia, and I'm joined by my co-host and husband, Francois. We're recapping Game 3 and the home opener for the New York Liberty. This was also the second meeting between New York and the Indiana Fever. If you watched their last meeting, New York pretty much had control of the game, and today was no different. New York remained dominant and got the win, beating Indiana 91-80. Has to feel good going 3-0 to start the season, right?
It definitely feels great, and what really impressed me is that it was a team effort. When we look at the stats, the New York Liberty actually beat a record and being the first team in WNBA history to have all 5 starters make multiple three-pointers in a regular season game. All of them were in double digits. We've been asking for the bench to be used more by Sandy, and they were used quite effectively. So overall, a great team effort for Caitlin Clark's first game in New York. Maybe some people wanted to see Caitlin, but the Liberty are the team on the come up and the team to beat besides the Las Vegas Aces. So let's get into it. And the first quarter was played with a lot of pace. It was going back and forth between the two teams. Caitlin Clark was probably playing the best quarter of her career, and the Liberty was not intimidated by that. They were going back at it as well with Sabrina and Stewie. What did you make of that first quarter with this crazy atmosphere at the Barclays? We'll have a chance to talk about that later.
Yeah, I think you can start it off with the atmosphere at the Barclays. You can tell all the fans were ready to welcome back the Liberty back to the arena, and you can tell that everyone was into this game and right behind them to start off a great season. And to just start the game, yeah, the pace was crazy going back and forth. You can tell Indiana made a couple of adjustments here and there. They were kind of going toe-to-toe at first before everybody sort of settled in. But yeah, I think the pace was fast, but it was good for the Liberty just to see them play together and have that. You can tell that they have that continuity now, like in terms of last year. In comparison, you could see like it was new for them. They were trying to figure out roles, and now they just played with ease. And even in that pace, they were able to play with ease, and you just see the ball was just popping back and forth. And so it was a great first quarter for them. And also even for Caitlin Clark, she made a little bit of an adjustment, I think, and got some shots off. But kudos to Betnijah Laney again. Betnijah Laney-Hamilton, sorry. Defense, yeah, just to watch her, you got to give her flowers. Just to watch her, we've been watching her since 2020, and just to see her progression over these last 4 seasons has been nothing short but spectacular. So kudos to her and her defense, and just even locking Caitlin up and just being everywhere on defense, and also scoring that 3-point shot.
Yeah. Like I was telling you during the game that I got familiar with Betnijah Laney-Hamilton's game in 2020 in the bubble. And she won MIP, Most Improved Player, during that season. She was a defensive force. She was good on transition, on offense. But what was impressive, once she signed to the Liberty the following season, was that every year she was adding something to her game. A range on offense with the mid-range, the corner threes. I think she was the player with the most corner threes last season. The dribbling, the defense, like she's an all-around player. And all the podcasts, the TV stuff that we're watching about the WNBA, and when they have to give an analysis or review of the Liberty, they always say that Betnijah is the X factor of that team.
Yeah,
if
definitely.
she plays well, and if they utilize all her skills, the Liberty could be in a very good position. And so far this season, she's on top of the list of the team in terms of plus minuses. She was 43 plus 43 in the previous game, plus 21 in this game. She was doing everything. And the defense, I was definitely, since we were at the stadium, like try to focus on what she was doing to Caitlin Clark. And we gotta give props to Caitlin Clark and the Indiana Fever. They made adjustments compared to the first game in Indiana. I feel like, they were setting more screens for her to get the speed or those quick frees. She was blitzing, in between, screens. So I felt like, they definitely made the adjustment, but Betnijah, regardless, made her life very difficult. Even though she had more points in this game, she made her life really, really difficult.
Yeah, I think, with the screens so that Kaylin can gain speed, or also on the switches, because if Betnijah wasn't on her, that also became problematic. If you had other defenders on her, that was pretty tough. And also double teaming her was also a great thing for the Liberty, where they would trap her, either Stewie and Betnijah or Kennedy and Betnijah, which was just good to see the team just play together and just be locked in together. I think that was the biggest takeaway from this game, was how locked in the Liberty were. And even as we know, the game has its ebbs and flows, but for most of it, I would say the Liberty were locked in, and playing together was a huge thing for them today. Especially Sabally. I spoke about her last game, and she continued it into this game. She had a couple of blocks, steals. She did everything defensively. She got a few points as well. I just think she's going to be a huge playmaker for them down the stretch, especially when you're resting JJ, and even for Dojkic when you're resting Sloot. I think Sloot also played a great game today. She looked so sharp. Yeah, she had some missteps. We know she had some turnovers in the game, but I will say for the most part she looked faster. She had a great 3-ball a few times. I mean, she scored 2 threes in the game, but I do feel like she just had a better shot selection today. Her passing was even better. And that comes with just getting some rest on the bench, being able to not just play the whole game. And I think that tires her out a little bit, but just having great role players come from the bench and either keeping the lead or even increasing the lead for you, that's just a great win for the Liberty all around too.
Yeah, I think like when you look at like how the bench is helping the starting lineup and the team overall, you realize that, the criticism that the Liberty got in the preseason or before the season about like the choices of players, Jonathan Cole, sometimes as fans we get emotional about decisions that him or other general managers are making, but that's their job. They know what they're doing. And getting all those players, international players, I felt like, he was very conscientious about, more athleticism, versatility, and, deepening the roster. And you see, like, the way Sandy is, rotating, and try to figure out rotations, to be honest. But it definitely feels like it helps Vandersloot to not like playing too much, because obviously she get at this stage of her career where she cannot play like 40 minutes or 38 minutes. So it's nice to have players that can come in and you don't feel like you have to put her back in right away, except maybe in the third quarter when Indiana was coming back. But yeah, definitely the most impactful player, as you said, was Nyara Sabally. And it's crazy when, when I was reading pregame interviews, that she's on minutes restriction at the moment, because they want to be cautious with her since she played this full season in Europe, and obviously with injuries in the past. So it's crazy to think that she could even provide even more to the team. But, her presence on defense, she had like, 2 or 3 blocks, 2 steals, and she's quick for a big. Like, she could set screens, do the pick and roll. She could, dribble the ball from the 3-point line and attack the basket. She could switch. She offers a lot of options for the Liberty on defense, on offense. And what was great was what Jonquel Jones said about Sabally after the game. I felt like she's like a big sister to her when we were looking at like some of the videos and interactions between teammates of the Liberty last year. You could tell that, She wanted to make sure that Sabally felt at home and taken care of. And this is what she said after the game about her strong performance from Sabally. She said, "We trust her to go out there and make plays. We understand that she's a really quick post player and that can go by a lot of other post players in this league. And I think she did that tonight." She said that she thinks that she was really locked in defensively, making an extra effort to get rebounds, to get back into plays, whether it was Boston or any of the other post players. So that's what we're going to need from her going forward throughout the season. What a
Yeah,
compliment by Jonquel Jones.
yeah, definitely. I think overall, when you look at the Liberty right now, their defense has really picked up from last year, which is great for them. I mean, again, you're going against Indiana, but even when they faced the Mystics, it wasn't easy, but they still gutted out that win too. I think, as they face other teams, like the Aces, Connecticut, and really like strong defensive teams, we'll really see, they'll be put to the test and we'll really see what they got. But I think right now what we can see is that their defense is really great, but much, much improved from last year, from last season. So I think all the bench players definitely deserve their flowers as well.
Yeah, definitely. And one other thing that I noticed, Felicia, was on defense. Two things that really caught my attention was the fact that their ability to switch. You had Sabally, you had Phoebish, even Jonquel Jones at times had to switch to a guard and was able to hold her own against Kelsey Mitchell. You have obviously Stewie, who's quite versatile. That was the one thing that I really enjoy watching on defense. Whether they could do it against all the other teams, that remains to be seen. Obviously, the Las Vegas Aces is the matchup we want to see if the team can adjust compared to last year. But that was definitely encouraging. And the second thing that really impressed me was Jonquel Jones and Breanna Stewart in the paint.
Yeah.
They give a really tough time to Nelissa Smith and Aaliyah Boston.
Yeah, I call them my twin towers. Defensively, going up against both those ladies, it's tough, and they got multiple blocks. I know Stewie had more points, 24 points, 5 rebounds. JJ had 14 points and 12 rebounds and 5 assists. She got another double-double. I think that's just going to be Jonquel's season, honestly. She's going to have double-doubles galore through the season. And they just feed off each other, which is great. I wondered that last year, how that was all going to play out. And we saw JJ just rise to the occasion towards the end of the season and into the playoffs. And she's just continued that. And I think they've learned really well how to play off each other in the paint, which is good. And Stewie is getting to her spots, getting her shots. And it's tough. It's tough for any defender down there. And again, we know it's Indiana. They're not the greatest team out there. They're probably going to be one of the weaker teams in the league this season.
Don't say that. You're going to have fans coming at you. I told you last time already.
Listen. Yes, Caitlin Clark was your number one pick, but we know the teams that usually get the number one picks did not have a good season the year before. So, it's going to be tough because I feel like all the teams got better, got stronger this year. So it's not going to be easy. And I think it's just going to take time. It's going to take time. Caitlin's getting her points and, making certain stats but it's just going to take time for them to gel and work all that out and find a rhythm. But right now, I'll take it that the Liberty are winning. They're 3-0, and it's really coming a huge team effort. Stewie and JJ stand out, but everyone's standing out, really, because they're all playing for each other, which is great to see.
Yeah, to go back on Jonquel Jones, and you mentioned the double-double, it was basically a 100th career double-double.
Wow.
In a career, so tremendous achievement. And you just, you could tell that she plays with more joy, that she kind of settled into the team and the role, and they play more with her. Whereas last year, she kind of felt like the odd one out, didn't really know, what her role could be in the team and how to better include her. And she also feels better physically, having a full off season in China. So it's been great to to see her playing lately, and with the playoff of last year.
And she feels the love from the fans.
Yeah, she got the biggest cheer at the
Yeah.
end when Ollie Rowe interviewed the whole squads, and when it was Jonquel Jones' turns to talk, like the whole Barclays Center just cheered for her. So she felt the love, and you could tell like she's happy to be here.
Yeah, I think it's great for JJ just because I think when they all came in, the big uproar was really about Stewie. And yeah, you were happy that JJ was coming, but everybody was like, "Oh, Breanna Stewart's coming, she's coming," and so I could tell that, last season it was just about everyone fitting and everyone trying to figure out the roles and how are we going to make this work. And they, for a first year together and to get to the finals, and even though you didn't get the victory, but to get all the way there as a team just put together, it's very impressive. And I think this year is a year for them where they can definitely make that run.
Yeah. The other thing that was also good to see again is the 3-point shooting from the Liberty, because believe it or not, but the first two games were not that great from the threes, and that was one of the strong suits of the Liberty last season. So Brandello said something very interesting about that. If I can find the quote, they were 15 for 32 from deep. And she said about the Indiana Fever, they saw us missing a lot in the first two games, so they might have decided to clog the paint a bit more, so we got some open looks. They definitely did.
Yeah.
In the first quarter, they were 7 for 9 from the 3-point line. Sloot's 3-point shooting was on luck. I felt like her shooting gesture was much better compared to last year, where she had probably a most struggling year when it comes to 3-point shooting. Sabrina, who had not shot very well in the first two games, but compensated with attacking the paint. It was the Sabrina of last year.
Yeah.
Freeze after freeze. She had that one where she fake passed to Sloot and then got the free and then shrugged a little bit like Michael Jordan in the finals against Portland in the 92. She had a new Sabrina 2s that are coming in June to show up for her. So she had a lot, for herself in this game.
Yeah, she is, Sabrina's going to get her 3-point shot off. That will come. She may have a night or two where she's a little off. She's going to work on it and come right back at it and be fine. I don't worry about her 3-point shot at all.
Yeah.
But what I will give her kudos for, defense. Yes, we know she's working on it. We know that that's not her strong suit, but she is working on it, and you can see that she's really trying hard. I mean, even when Caitlin stole the ball, she was able to get down there and disrupt the play.
Yeah, she did.
Caitlin couldn't even make that layup, and she even had a steal. She was definitely all over today on defense, and it's just good to see, because I think, in years prior, she was still learning. She was still trying to figure out defensively where she should be. And I also give kudos to Betnijah for also helping her in that. You can tell sometimes Betnijah's kind of helping her on like where she should be, when they switch and things like that on the court. And she's doing good. I think she's doing a really good job, and she'll get better. Obviously, we know it's not her strongest part of her game, but she's going to get better with it. She's going to get tested even more down the stretch as they face tougher teams. But yeah, she's doing well. So I'm proud of Sabrina. I'm also proud of her just driving to the basket as well and trying to find the open man if she doesn't have a good shot, and just her whole decision making, the slick passes to Stewie, and she's just becoming that all around player. Like we were just giving Betnijah her flowers. I think you're starting to see that with Sabrina as well. Like she's starting to just become that all around player and not just some 3-point specialist.
What was very striking as well in the stadium was how muscular she is, like even stronger than previous season.
She's definitely put on a little more muscle for sure.
She definitely put on more muscles, and I think that's the beauty for her, having all those endorsements. She doesn't have to play abroad, and so she could just focus on the game, look back at, the things that she needs to improve. Yeah. And I feel like, she's definitely stronger, and you could tell on defense she's holding her own. And I felt like the Indiana Fever were attacking Sloot more on offense than Sabrina. So that's very encouraging. But as we always say, like, let's try to look for other matchups
Yeah.
to see where she stands compared to last year. So in the second half, I think most of the game, the Liberty were cruising between 15 and 20 points cushion. The Indiana Fever made a little run at the end of the third quarter, beginning of the fourth. Sandy put the starting lineup back on, and they really took care of business. There's a big gap between those teams at the moment. I know that a lot of fans were saying, "Oh, with Caitlin Clark, the Indian Fever is like a title contestant and all those stuff." But it's gonna take time. Stewie and JJ at the end of the game, they give their props to Caitlin Clark, but they say like people need to give her and the team time. And all they say is if we can make the playoff and the last spot, the eighth spot, that's successful season. But you see the difference between those two teams, and the Liberty are one of the favorites for the title, whereas the Fever they still figure things out.
Yeah, but I mean, even for the fans, the Fever, they have a tough schedule. They are facing, granted, there's only 12 teams in the league, but their beginning schedule is tough. They're facing pretty much the upper half of ranking, the upper half teams from last year. That's who they're facing right now. They're facing the Liberty. They're going to face the Aces. They're going to face Connecticut.
Yeah.
I mean, those are the top three teams from last year. What do you expect? It's not going to be easy. Will Caitlin Clark figure it out? Yeah, she still made 20 points today. She's going to figure it out. She's going to get stronger. She's going to get bigger probably as each season comes. You see that with every rookie. They come out their first year, they look kind of small, except for maybe like the centers, the bigs and stuff. They look kind of small. They look sort of frail next to some of these WNBA players. But as the seasons go on, as the years go on, they get bigger, they get stronger, they'll adjust. I'm not worried about Caitlin Clark. She's probably going to be beating records here in a few years, and she'll be fine.
Yeah. Last podcast, we were also looking forward and previewing what the atmosphere was going to be like at the Barclays Center for the home opener, and it met every expectations. It felt like that long time friends that you haven't seen in a while.
Yeah.
And then like when you come by, it's like you guys I've seen each other just like the yesterday or something. And so it was good to see familiar faces, some of the season ticket holders that we've seen over the years. And the atmosphere was insane. It was a sold out crowd. I think the biggest attendance for the New York Liberty at the Barclays, more than the final last year. And I think they broke a record in terms of ticket revenue. They said that they made $2 million off of that game. And it was 20% of Indian and Fever fan, which means that, a lot of people show up for the Liberty, which was great. It was loud, and Stewie said that when they feel, tired, especially in the third quarter when Indiana made a comeback, they fed off of the energy of the crowds. And that's very important. Stewie always mentioned the home court advantage. So we need the crowd to show up. And she said the expectation is to have that kind of attendance for every single game, not just for the Fever or the Aces. They want that for every single game.
Yeah, and they deserve it. I hope that, for these next few games coming up that we'll have a good crowd. I think we will.
Yeah.
I know the Barclays may not open all the sections up like they did today, but hopefully they'll see that, the bottom section is getting filled up and you need to open the top section, even if it's just maybe not the whole section, but hopefully that's the goal. Or they're trying to have it to where the arena is fully open, just like you see for Nets games. It should be the same for Liberty games, and I think more and more fans will come out and support. But yeah, it's just great to the crowd at Barclays. It's insane.
Yeah.
It was so loud. My ears were buzzing. Yeah. I felt like I was at one of them big concerts where the music is so loud, like my ears were starting to hurt. But it's good because they know the fans love them. They know the fans are behind them. And also just seeing like the timeless torches, little torches, Ellie in the halftime.
Oh my God.
Ellie is on another level.
Ellie was on
Ellie
fire
is a celebrity
today.
now. It's like she was always Miss Thing, but she's a celebrity now. She is the one, coming in with her fit. She got a purse now. She got her bag. Listen, Ellie is a whole other entity in and of herself.
Now, my question is, did Ellie also work in the off season? Because I felt like all the dance moves were crispier, like were just smoother. like I don't know, everything was flowing so.
Listen, Ellie's been working since the season was over because we still would see Ellie at just various
different events. Yeah.
Ellie gained such huge popularity, and I think also by going on to TikTok, that just also drove Ellie's popularity through the roof. So we're glad to have Ellie as our mascot. She is doing her thing. If you come to a game, you're going to have a good time.
Yeah, and we didn't mention the halftime show performance from Ellie and the Timeless Torches.
And the Little Torches.
So let me recap. So far, since the New York Liberty have been playing at the Barclays Center and Ellie has been introduced a couple of years ago, she has impersonated Beyonce, Mary J. Blige,
Little Kim, and
today it was Missy Elliott with 3 or 4 different outfits, including the that song, like one of the first singles from Missy Elliott.
Yeah, like, she had like
the whole thing.
She had on all those outfits underneath, and I just kept thinking, whoever's under there, I know they got to be sweating. It's hot because they were giving it their all today. And so, Ellie is going to be a good time. So if you're able to come to a game, it's always, always, always a good time with Ellie.
Yeah, so great atmosphere, great to be back. Like, you forget the last time we were at the Barclays for a Liberty game was, on a sad note. But that's the standard, like you said, that's the standard that we expect for every game, and it's nice to see that the organization treated it the same way as if it was a Brooklyn Nets game, and people will show up. They will support the Liberty because the product is great. The people around this organization are doing an incredible job, and so they deserve everything they get. So next week is gonna be a busy schedule. No time to just celebrate or rest on our laurels because the next game is Monday against the Seattle Storm, who have been struggling so far. They lost their first 2 games against the Minnesota Lynx. And that just shows me that they're going to go through what the Liberty went through last year. And so, it's going to take some time for them, but it's definitely going to be intriguing to see Skylar Diggins-Smith, Drew Lloyd, and Nickel Gumike against the Liberty. I'm definitely looking forward to that matchup. And then on Thursday, they'll face at home again, the Chicago Sky and Angel Reese. And even though it was a preseason game, we expect a little revenge and a different mindset from the Liberty compared to that preseason game.
For sure. I mean, I think the preseason game, they're going to have to check out the window. They're going to have to forget that completely. That was just, they were still on vacation. We're going to let that one just leave our memory. But they're definitely going to have to be locked in against Seattle. I never like going up against teams, especially teams like that where they have some really, really solid and excellent players, and they already went 0-2. They're they're gonna try to come for blood because they want to get a win. They want to get a win. So I hope just for the Liberty, they got to stay locked in, especially in the second half. I think so far what we've seen with the Liberty is that they've started out their first halves pretty well and very strong. And usually they've kind of alluded to certain things they did last season where the third quarter, I feel like they don't come out as strong. And then they have to sort of pick it up in the fourth. And I think with a team like Seattle, you don't want to do that. You gotta stay locked in, or they're gonna come for you. I mean, we saw just a brief snippet of the Seattle and Minnesota game, and that went to double overtime. And Minnesota did pull out a win, but still, Seattle is feisty. They're gonna come with all they got. This is not Indiana. They don't have that many rookies that are going to be on the court. So this is a different animal. But I do think if they stay locked in like they have been, they can get the win.
Yeah, man. If you want to know where you are right now in the season and defensively, I feel like Seattle is a good matchup, to figure that out with Skylar Diggins-Smith and Drew Lloyd. They're going to cause a lot of trouble, on the perimeter and attacking the basket. So definitely looking forward to that matchup and see where the Liberty are right now in terms of defense. So don't miss that game. We'll try to cover, that game after. So thank you so much, guys, for listening to our podcast and all the support that we get. We're really grateful. And as we always say, Felicia,
let's go Liberty!